I think you're just like transferring, what, $10,000 at a time?
Oh, way to go. Oh, you were here, you were just outside? Okay. I want to call the February 7, 2017 Daviess County Fiscal Court meeting to order. Commissioner Koger, would you lead us in a prayer and a pledge?
I will, Judge. Bow your heads, please. Our Heavenly Father, please watch over our community, the homeless, and those who are in the hospital for a speedy recovery. Protect us from all harm. We humbly thank you for all the gifts we receive from you. We ask that you watch over all those who protect us, especially those men and women who serve in our armed forces, law enforcement, fire departments, and all other emergency services. We ask for wisdom, understanding, and courage to make the right decisions for all of our citizens. We ask all these things in your name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Commissioner, thank you for that prayer and the pledge. I want to welcome everyone here to our February 7, 2017 Fiscal Court meeting. We are meeting kind of early, actually late. A lot of the court's going to be gone in this coming week to a judge executives conference, and several of us had other things throughout this month. So I'll just remind everybody now, and I'll try to remind them again, that our next meeting, Jenny, and if you're going to fan, just get over here closer to me, that our next meeting will be February 21st, and that's a Tuesday as well, and at 5 o'clock. Can we open, you want to open some windows?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, why don't we just open those, a couple on that end, David, and a couple back there. And if we could, let's open the door and perhaps we can get some flow through the court. All righty. Jenny, are you ready?
Yes, sir. Item 1, consideration for presentation A, Treasurer's Report for December 2016.
Mr. Hendricks.
Cash balance at December 31st is $23,151,450. Of that, the general fund is $9,437,110. For the first 6 months of the fiscal year, the revenues and expenses are coming in within the budgeted range, so I have nothing to alert the court to.
Question or comment by the commission? All right, that's just a presentation. Next item, Jenny.
Item 2, consideration for approval A, minutes of the January 19, 2017 meeting.
Second.
I have a motion, second. Commissioners, you've all had a copy of the minutes in your possession for some time. Are there any additions, deletions, or corrections? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
B, all claims for all departments.
Move to approve. Second.
I have a motion, second. Again, Commissioners, you've had a copy of all the bills due and payable by Daviess County Fiscal Court in your possession for some time. Any questions of the treasurer? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
C, Resolution 3, 2017, applications for and administration of Office of Homeland Security projects, Moseleyville Repeater Station, and weather siren replacements in Philpot.
Motion approved. Second.
We have a motion, second. Commissioners, it's pretty self-explanatory. We're applying for some Homeland grant, Homeland Security grant. Our EMA director, Andy Ball, I think, took ill and left the building. So if you have any questions, I'll try to answer them. If not, hold them for Andy tomorrow. Yes.
There are a couple things in here, action items that have to happen. Is Andy the one that has to do that?
He would be doing all that because he's making the application. Yep. Any other question or comment? Question or comment by the public? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
D, Office of Homeland Security grant applications to install the Moseleyville and Whitesville repeater stations and weather siren replacements in Philpot.
Move to approve. Second.
I have a motion, second. Again, Commissioners, if you look at it, that is the installation part of the first resolution. Any question or comment? Question or comment from the public? And you know, I'm sorry, Vicki. You're just chopped liver sitting out there, aren't you? Vicky was here to answer any questions if anybody has anything. Any question or comment? Vicky, you can go home to supper.
Okay.
All right. Hearing no comment or question, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Thank you for being here, though. You earned brownie points.
E, apply for the 2018 ambulance grant benefiting Procarent.
Move to approve.
Second?
I have a motion second. Jim?
Yes, sir. This is a grant that we apply for every year. We're the flow-through agency for this grant. And I contacted you. For some reason, they didn't get us the grant on time. It was due January 31st. I talked to each of you either in person or via email, let you know we were going to go ahead and file it. And this is the formal approval, but the grant application has already been filed.
Okay. Question or comment? Hearing or question or comment with the public? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries.
F, award RFP number 1, 2017 Daviess County Gun Club operation.
Move to approve?
Second.
I have a motion second. Commissioners, before I go to Jordan Johnson, the purchasing agent who handled this for us, we have Jesse and Janine Pollock out in the audience. They've run the gun club for the last 4 years, I guess. And they're getting ready to retire, so thank you on behalf of the citizens of Owensboro for providing that sporting place for us. Jordan?
Yes, Judge. We've been probing the industry for some time over the last year to gauge interest in operating the gun club, and we've had very limited response. Most who have approached the fiscal court backed out after realizing the full scope. We put out an official request for proposal after speaking to some interested candidates and received 2 responses, one by Mr. Mike Hafley and another by Mr. Matt Schneider. The proposals were evaluated based on 3 main criteria: knowledge of sporting clay operations, direct experience in the field, and the ability to coordinate local and corporate events for the public. Mr. Mike Hafley's submission is the best evaluated proposal, meeting all expectations and satisfying all criteria. He is cognizant of the proximity of residents to the gun club acreage and the challenges and limitations that come with that. He has over 18 years of experience in managing sporting clay facilities, and he demonstrated a working knowledge of the needs of hosting shooting events, both local and corporate. He has the necessary equipment to start immediately and begin operations by April 1st, 2017, and has additional equipment available for a larger shooting event if necessary. It is my opinion that Mr. Hafley is the best situated of the 2 to operate the Daviess County Gun Club, and I recommend moving forward with his proposal.
Question or comment by the commission? Question or comment by the public? Just approach the podium and give us your name and address. And
my name is
go from
Jesse Pollock, the operator manager of the gun club at this present time. And my address is 833 South Old State Road 45, Rockport, Indiana. The reason why I'm here, and I'm very concerned about the transfer of the management of the gun club over to Mike Hafley. First of all, I do know Mike Hafley, and he's really not a likable person. And
Jesse, I'm not sure that is proper.
Well,
because Mr. Hafley is not here to defend himself. Now, if you want to talk about what other issues, but...
Well, I said that for a personal reason.
Well, I understand, but we're not going to get personal here.
Okay, I got you. My concern is that Mike Hafley, after my 4+ years of running and operating the gun club, when I took over the gun club, it had been let go. I cleaned it up. It's a beautiful place. It's a real nice shooting facility. I think it's one of the best in the state. And I would hate for Mike to be able to come in there for $1 a year and take over the operation of the gun club. And if that takes place, then I'm going to lose everything that I have done over there. All the equipment and everything, I will have to try to sell it. And I've already checked out with an auction company, and it's not going to work. I mean, because I've got everything priced so low. And if I did that, I just will set it out there on the highway and let them somebody come along and take it. So I'm very concerned about him coming in there, since whatever his resume is, and he's not done anything for the gun club. And I've done all this, and I would think that after the 4+ years, that the circuit court would really appreciate, or the fiscal court, what I've done and taken consideration that I'm going to lose everything if you do this transaction the way it is. My machines are just as good as his. The operation is just as good as his, what he's going to do. Yes, he's got his own machines, but he's not going to be able to, he's not, you know, for $1 a year, I think it's terrible. I think it's a slap, it's an insult to me that the court would let him have it and then say for me to be on your way after I've done all this for the county. And I really would appreciate if you would reconsider and, you know, take that into consideration too. And Matt is a qualified person. He does have a gun range now. He's going to move back to Owensboro. It's a beautiful, they're really a nice couple, and he is qualified. He knows a lot. He's very intelligent, and I was going to help him get started. So it's not a problem with what he's going to do. He's going to advertise for you. He's going to be open more. He's going to do everything that Happily Plus More is going to do for you. So I'd really appreciate if you take that into consideration.
Okay. Jesse, the only thing I'm going to say is that we made that offer to you, $1 a year. That's what you paid. No different than what Mr. Halfley or any other operator would do. The fact that you purchased the equipment and it's in your possession, I understand, but you know, I received from you on the 23rd of January the statement that you would not be operating that gun club after the 1st of April. Leaves us no choice as a fiscal court looking out for, number one, the taxpayer dollar, which is to make sure that it continues to operate as a shotgun sporting club. We can't handle it, we can't use it as a rifle and pistol range. As you know, when you first came there, you talked to me about doing that. We can't do that. The young man, Matt Snyder, is it Matt Snyder? Yeah, Matt Snyder. His expertise is the 2 years that he has run a gun club, and the gun club is a pistol and rifle club. No, I understand, but it's a pistol and rifle club. Mr. Halfley has 18 years experience running a sporting clays venue. Now, doesn't mean that Mr. Snyder couldn't learn. I remember that when you came, you didn't have that experience either. But I think in the opinion, and I turn this over to our purchasing agent because as a member and a shooter out there, I didn't want to have to make that decision. And Mr. Johnson evaluated it and has made his recommendation to us. So I don't know that we have any other alternative but to move forward. You know, the equipment, I understand you purchased that from the previous operator, but I don't think there was any right of expectation that the next operator would purchase that equipment. And you and I have talked many times over the last year about trying to find an operator. As a matter of fact, I think you had one person approach you, and we were willing to extend the lease to them if you could work out some kind of an agreement, and unfortunately that didn't happen. So we hear what you say, but you know, Mr. Halfley is being given no favors over anybody else. $1 a year is what we offered you. $1 a year is what we offered in the lease. So it was open to anyone who would come in and be willing to invest their money and their time. So, commissioners.
I got a question.
Yes, sir.
This Mr. Snyder, was he going to purchase that equipment from you? Okay.
Be a turnkey operation if he purchased it, just like we got it when we bought it.
Well, and I bought more stuff since then, and of course I got some stuff from the county too.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the camera guy is saying y'all need to be at the mic so people at home can hear.
Yes, that's true. And I have purchased more equipment, machines, since I purchased all the machines from Steve and Joe, and then I also inherited some of the machines from the fiscal court, and I put a lot of money into it on my own. I've got all kinds of stuff, targets and everything else. I've got $4,000 or $5,000 worth of targets. I'm going to go let the guy have it. If this doesn't work out, then I've got a tower with machines on it. I've got carports. I've got all kinds of stuff that belong to me. And all that stuff's going to have to come out of there. If this doesn't, evidently it's not going to work out, and I'm going to have to try to get that out of there. And I don't know what Mike is going to do, because the trap machines, skeet machines, and all that stuff is mine. And
No, that was me.
so he never did contact me, and I think that's really not something that the court would want to hear. He, I guess, went to Al and talked to Al.
No, he responded to a request for proposal.
Well, no.
He responded, Mr. Johnson did.
Well,
We put a request for a proposal. There was really no reason for him to contact you, Jesse. You don't own the property. You don't own the building.
Well, I didn't
You
know.
own equipment,
Yeah.
I understand, but he responded to the request for proposal.
Well, I know you had told me several months back
Yes.
that he had talked to you about.
He had indicated an interest, and then he responded to the
Yeah.
request for proposal.
Well, I'm just going by what I understood took place there. And the same thing with Matt. He saw the ad in the newspaper and he responded to it. But I had been advertising.
And he contacted me. Matt talked to me, and
Well, I think it was Jordan, was it, that told Matt, and then you had told him to call me, right?
yes,
Or whoever it was.
yeah.
And so he he came out to the club. Mike's never had talked to me or anything.
But again, he wouldn't, why would he talk to you if he's got his equipment? He's a sporting clays guy.
Well,
You-
I just
he
think
would have no reason to talk to you. Now, Matt perhaps would. No experience in sporting clays, no equipment. That's what I would have done, and I did recommend that he contact you and talk
Well, he
to
never
you.
did.
No, I'm
You're talking about Matt, okay.
Yes.
Well, I had called him at that time when you and I had talked. You said that he had contacted you about it. And so I called him, and he would never call me back.
Okay.
So to me personally, I feel like that he just went around me, which I feel like when I bought the place, I went to Steve and Joe, and we worked out that details, and then I made the presentation to the court here, and was approved. And I thought the same thing would happen when I leave, that that someone would come in and purchase machines, and then, have your approval first, and then that. But
That, I don't know where you would have gotten that thought.
I mean, that's
because
the way I did it.
Well, I understand, but what I'm saying is that was not the way the lease was written. The lease with you was for $1 a year.
Right, I
For the
understand.
building, for the grounds, and we don't do anything else.
Okay.
And you were gonna provide all the equipment, and you had made your provision, so, that's the way isn't that the way the request for proposal was, Jordan?
That's correct.
This gentleman has his own equipment, is that correct?
Which
Mr.
gentleman?
Halfley?
Yes.
He's got all, okay.
And I guess back to my question, from your perspective, if this Matt would buy your equipment, we'll say at a fair price, and if that doesn't happen, from what you said from an auctioneer, you're not going to get much out of your equipment, even though that doesn't have anything to do with our court. And if the new leasee, I guess, would take over the 1st of April, then you've got about 30 days, well, we'll say 45 days to clear your stuff out, and the new operator would take over. Is that correct?
That's the way that's what I understand right at this moment, yeah.
That's the way your
Or sell to the,
your letter to us indicated, that you would cease owner before April 1st, you would be gone. And
Well, I
that's-
know that's
yeah.
what,
Well, I mean, that's
Oh,
why
you
we
said
took you
just-
at your word,
yeah.
so.
Well, I didn't know I had to do anything else. If that's the wording of it, that I had to sell, I was, I wasn't going to leave until I sold my equipment. Is that what we're saying?
No, according to this, you said owner, but, I guess if you want to put your equipment in an area over there until you sell it, I don't have a problem with it, as long as you can work something out with a new lessor. But certainly, I can't lease the property to him and expect him to take over operating when you've got equipment in the field and those kinds of things. We wouldn't have done it to you if you came in with your own equipment. So I think we're beating it about the bush. The simple fact is we did a request for proposal as advised by our county attorney. What I wanted to do really was enter into individual negotiations, but was told we couldn't do it. So we did a request for proposal. We had 2 responses to the proposal. They were evaluated by our purchasing agent at my request, so I didn't have to, so there's no bias. And in his opinion, the best proposal was the one submitted by Mr. Halfley. So, you know, I guess what I would say or advise, Jesse, would be to continue to try to get a hold of Mr. Halfley and see if you couldn't work out a deal to purchase the equipment. If you're saying that you're going to get pennies on the dollar auctioning it, I don't know what he would.
Al, he's already indicated to you that he's got all his own equipment. He's not communicating with me.
He does.
So if he's got all his equipment.
Well, but you know, Jesse, when you would have bigger tournaments, you needed extra equipment. I think I remember when you were going to bid on the state tournament out there, you and I talked about you were going to have to rent machines to bring them in to do more tournaments. Rangers Crossing. I mean, there are folks in this sporting clays world that would buy equipment. Now, you're not going to get the top dollar for it probably, but they would buy the equipment. Yes, I went on the Daviess County Gun Club site and saw, actually I saw a gun club for sale, and I thought, well, I hope they don't think they're buying the 83 acres. But, you know, I don't know what you're asking for the equipment. I don't know where that goes, but certainly I can talk to Mr. Halfley in the negotiation with him or in our conversation and see if he won't give you some additional time to remove the equipment.
Yeah, okay.
So,
well, I just felt like, you know, after doing what we've done for these 4 years plus, for it to end up like this, I just felt like it was much of a,
you know, and I understand where you're coming from, I guess, but the implication is that we're doing something special for Mr. Halfley that we didn't do for you, and that's not the case. You provided equipment, you leased it for $1. So, you know, that's where that ends. Mm-hmm. That's where it ends. So, any other question or comment? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And I'm going to abstain. Next item.
G, award bid number 4, 2017, Mosquito Control Program.
Motion approved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second, Jordan, I'm sorry. I ought to just make Mark do it just for meanness.
Yes, Judge. In 2008, the Fiscal Court pursued a countywide mosquito control program to treat specified unincorporated areas of Daviess County. We have reviewed this program to better define services to the citizens and solidly define the county's cost drivers for additional treatments. It has been conducted as a bid that will be assessed annually. Daviess County Fiscal Court received 1 bid from Action Pest Control, having no exceptions to the bid documentation. It is our recommendation to award bid number 4, 2017 to Action Pest in the amount of $3,600 per month for 6 months of treatment per year and $75 per additional treatment as needed.
Commissioners, before we do that, Mark, do you have any comment? You better not say no.
This is one of the last remaining contracts that we have not put our hands on for several years. I believe this does, at least at this face value, save us several $1,000s throughout the spray year. So this is our first attempt at it. We'll find out. I'm sure we'll get calls in, and it'll be looked at again next year and modified to fit our needs.
Just to expand a little bit, Commissioners, as you know, when we were first sworn in back in 2011, we took a position that we were going to review every contract in Daviess County. I think this is the last one, isn't it? This is the last remaining one?
Last one I know of, yes.
Yeah. So we had pretty much gone through every contract, ended up saving approximately $300,000 a year by reviewing the contracts and rebidding them. So that's not chopped liver, is it, George?
No, I was just wondering what it's gonna cost us per mosquito.
Well, it depends. It depends on your perspective. If the mosquito is on you biting away, it may be cheap. If it's on Mike biting away, it may be, well, it won't matter. Any other question? Any question by the audience? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries.
H, advertise bid number 6, 2017, one new Class A fire engine, fire and rescue.
I thought I told you to pull that. Doggone it. Go ahead, Commissioner.
I said motion to approve.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. Commissioners, as I asked the chief, I said another fire engine. He said, Judge, it's in the budget. So this is just permission to have Jordan go out and advertise. So any question or comment?
So it's in this fiscal year budget?
Yes.
And what station is it going to, Judge?
Chief?
Chief?
This is for the Airport Sargo Volunteer Fire Department.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other question or comment? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries.
I, surety bond release for Waterford Village Unit 1 sidewalks.
Motion approved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Mark?
Yes, sir. The developer has installed the final sidewalk in this unit of the subdivision. They request a release of their bonds. We have reviewed the construction and approved. I recommend approval of release.
Question or comment by the commission? Question or comment by the public? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
3, ordinance A, first reading of KOC 220.30, 2017, an ordinance authorizing and directing the rebate of 0.35% of all occupational license fees due and payable to Daviess County, Kentucky by ordinance from the salaries, wages, and other compensation to be paid by the new employees of TerraPure Kentucky Distillers Incorporated, provided said corporation meets the criteria set forth in the application for incentives under the Kentucky Economic Development Finance Authority Kentucky Business Investment Program.
Move to approve.
Second.
No.
Well, this
Oh,
is-
first
this
reading,
first
I'm sorry.
reading. Commissioners, Joe Berry is here from the EDC office. If you have any questions, basically, I think this is, they had applied for a KAED incentive.
That's correct, Judge. This is a
And-
project from May of 2014, and were approved by the Kentucky Economic Development Finance Authority for this project. This was a $23 million investment and 70 new job projects. And when you go through the incentive process, you're approved for incentives, you activate the incentive, and then you go final once you have met those obligations under the program. So this ordinance is simply to go final on the incentives, and essentially that the company has done everything that they said they were going to do when they were initially approved for this project. As many of you all probably have seen, they have done a great job with their restoration of the O.Z. Tyler facility here in Owensboro, so we're very excited about it.
And started to participate in the community as well.
That's correct. Yes, sir.
They're a very good corporate citizen. So, and this was, we basically as a commission approved to do this and move forward with it back 2 years ago when, as Joe said, they were finally activating it. Any question or comment? Yes, sir.
I'm just curious, Joe. I noticed when I reviewed this, it says for 10 years, and years ago the standard seemed to be 5 years. Is that a state requirement that we go 10?
It depends on how the language is worded in the original incentive application, but the KBI program is over a period of 10 years. That's correct.
It does not have to be 10 years.
That's
If they're if the maximum amount under KF the KIFTA or the KBI is reached before the end of the 10 years. It ends at the time that the maximum amount is reached.
That's correct. Commissioner Castleton, the incentive approval was capped at $1.2 million.
Okay.
So once that's fulfilled, it will be, the incentive will end.
I see. Thank you.
Any other question?
No, sir.
Or comment? Okay, next item.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thanks, Joe.
For consideration for discussion, A, other business to be brought before the Davis County Fiscal Court.
And
I am not aware of any.
hallelujah, we're into our third meeting of the year, and nobody has braved your wrath, have they?
B, public comments.
Okay, this is time during a meeting in which we ask the public to step forward, identify themselves, and you're welcome to speak on anything other than what was on the agenda. No takers. Next item.
C, comments by Davis Fiscal Court.
Commissioner Castleton.
Pass.
Commissioner Wathen.
I'm going to pass.
And Commissioner Koger.
Pass.
You know, I would pass, except I want to tell you folks, all the commissioners in particular, that we had our first employee council meeting today. We had been having them on a quarterly basis, and last year, or a year ago, the employee council decided a quarterly basis was too much. They couldn't stand to look at me 4 times a year. So they decided to have them twice. Unfortunately, when Marcia Hardesty retired, everybody forgot about it. And I remembered it not too long ago, and Jenny Hardesty set it up, and we had a very good meeting today. Lots of new faces on the board, very good discussion. And I'm looking forward to keeping that going. Other than that, I don't have a lot. Charlie, we've got a dinner tonight.
We do.
Tell us about it.
It's for Friends of St. Benedict's, and it's at St. John Paul Catholic Church Parish Hall at 6 p.m.
Okay. And you know, we did have a good point in time count. We had we served a lot of folks over at the Patino shelter, and we also had just recently another White Flag Day. I think that's working out very well. So you know, I would congratulate the community on their help to the homeless, to those who need our help, to those who feed those folks, and would encourage everybody to continue to do it. If there's no other business to be brought before Davis County Fiscal Court, without exception, we're adjourned.